We're live.
Well, that was a nice, good technical mishap. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Thursday Night Gridiron here, hosting live at the Sports Insanity Network. I am your host for tonight, Mark Oldup, Sky Halpern, and with me currently is Bill. Still a Giants fan, Murphy, even though we only lost by 3 points to the KC Chiefs, which should have been a much bigger blowout. Bill, how you doing?
I'm doing good. You know what? Man, it could have been a lot worse.
Definitely.
It
But
could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. But we're not here to talk about the past. We're not here to talk about the future. We're not talking about here who's leading the NFC East. We're here to talk about tonight's Thursday night showdown between two of the most prestigious teams in NFL history, the New York Jets and the Indianapolis Colts. I look at these two teams and I see years and years and years of star-studded history. And with the current records of the Jets at 2-5, which is much more impressive than I thought they would be, and the Colts at 3-5, this actually mates for a good bout. What do you think, though?
I think it really does. Like, even though the Colts have been kind of this year and the Jets. Mark, do we really need to say anything about the Jets? Like, seriously?
Yeah, actually, we do. We do have to say some nice things right now.
Oh, we have to say nice things about the Jets?
Yeah.
Where's Eric when we need him?
Right.
Yeah, hopefully he'll be joining us fairly soon. But yeah, I think this could be a good fight. You got Carson Wentz over with the Colts. You also got Mike White last week with the Jets.
And we'll get into him in a little bit. Yep.
I'll save that joke for when we get there. But all I got to say is we see what we saw last week. I think we're going to see a good game tonight, unless Carson Wentz doesn't pull what he pulled last week, throwing that interception in overtime that led their loss against the Titans.
Well, we'll see what we're going to see out of Carson Wentz tonight. Right now, that shout out to Titans. Poor Derrick Henry, out for the season. We'll miss you, bud. And I will miss you on all three of my fantasy teams.
And I will miss him on my fantasy team as well.
Okay.
On two of my fantasy teams.
So getting into tonight's bout, you got the New York Jets, who last week did not have a starting quarterback, really, because Zach Wilson went down with a knee injury. And luckily for the Jets, their star-powered number one pick rookie, it's only a 2 to 4 week injury. And it's just an MCL sprain, and a lot of people come from that pretty fast, but there's no reason to rush back. This is the Jets we are talking about. But last week, Mike Colts, who hadn't been on an NFL team in a while, signed the day before pretty much, comes in and throws for 405 yards and 3 touchdowns to bring back probably one of the greatest games I've watched in a long time. What is it with Mike White? What is it with Cowboys quarterbacks that never come to fruition? They end up in New York. That's apparently where they end up. And Mike White did them proud last week. Bill, you saw Mike White's performance.
I did.
What do you think?
Okay, first of all, I know Jet fans have been saying this joke all week, and I got to say it. Zach who?
And that's New Yorkers for you.
Zach who? So, anyway... Now, I think Mike White looked really good last week. I think he just really, again, 405 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think he just looked really good last week. And I think the Jets could maybe have a good quarterback on their hands. But you also got a wasted number 2 draft pick.
Well, and that's a good way to look at it right now, because Mike White has as much experience as Zach Wilson does in the NFL. Virtually zero. You know, not to take anything. Dallas saw something of him to draft him. The 170th pick in 2018. I mean, they saw something. He lasted on the team for maybe a year. And
the Jets signed him 5 minutes before kickoff?
Something like that. Pretty close to that. And
all right, Mike, here's your contract. Okay, suit up. Game's in 5 minutes. Now, get on the field.
And he came out and he answered. He proved why he belongs to be in the NFL, and all the luck to him. However,
we wish him well.
Right. However, this is against an Indianapolis Colts defense it's a little stingy. They can come at you from all ways. They're good on the run defense, and that's not something really they have to worry about because the Jets can't really run the ball very well. But their passing defense does have holes, and that's where I think Mike White can be a little bit productive tonight.
He's just got to pass the ball.
Yeah, you can't throw the look. I mean, we're not talking the numbers of Peyton Manning or Ben Roethlisberger. Or let's even be fair enough, Steve Young and throwing the ball 60, 65 times. He's going to have to put up the ball at least 35 or more times tonight to have a structured game.
Oh, absolutely.
And, Robert Saleh really deserves a lot of credit for what he did getting this Jets team prepared for this game. Losing, you're down your star rookie quarterback that every kid is buying the jersey. Then here comes in this guy, Mike White.
Who every kid might be buying that jersey
today, right? That's what you're going to see sporting. But what is it about Robert Saleh? What are we seeing out of his first season here?
I'm seeing with Robert Saleh because at first I'm thinking, okay, usually I think when there is a head coach and a new head coach, rookie quarterback, I'm like thinking, don't have any expectations. Don't expect you're going to win the Super Bowl because you have someone who are just trying to find their footing. And correct me if I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, Mark, please correct me. This is Robert Saleh's. Is this Robert Saleh's first year as head coach? Or
yes.
Because he was a offensive or defensive coordinator.
Offensive.
So Robert Saleh is an offensive coach in this Jets offense, especially with the quarterback situation. Zach Wilson, when he comes back, maybe a little shaky, but I can see how he's building it with Mike White. I can see some fixes are being made, but I think it is a long road to go because, like I said, when you have a head coach, you're basically in a rebuilding year. And, the Jets are in like their 63rd now? Are they in like their 63rd rebuilding year right now? Eric Ford's not here, so we can make as many Jet jokes.
Jets, our backers aren't in here.
Eric Ford and Danny Boy Reginald are not here, so we can make as many Jet jokes as we want.
For now.
Comes in and then I gotta hide. But no, I think after getting through the disaster known as Adam Gase, Saleh is trying to build a new culture with the Jets, and I think he can have it, and I think he could build this into a strong franchise eventually.
Bill, what I think you use as the word culture is a great use of word here, because if you look at football teams around the country, they're all built from the same ground they were all started on in some way or another, from playbook to ways organizations run one way or another. Every team has to adapt to a new culture one day or another. And I think the Jets might have found the person in Robert Saleh who realizes what it needs to be done. And to touch on that a little bit, I think Saleh being put into a position where he had no one to throw the ball and got Mike White ready, and through perseverance and hard work, as usual, the underdog, which I've always loved, came out and beat. I don't even know how to put it, but gave the Jets 2 wins. Now I maxed them out at 4 wins on the year. So can they win 3 more games, Bill?
Can they win 3 more games? Because they've won 2 games already.
Right. This is just an opinion question.
I think they probably could, but you also got to see who they got coming up. I'm just going to pull up the Jets schedule. Give me uno momento.
Yep.
You got the Colts tonight. That could go either way. Next week, you got the Bills, which I'm calling an L.
I wouldn't.
Really?
Not the way the Bills have been playing.
Dolphins, no offense to our good friend Mike Rifkin, I could see a W.
Mm-hmm.
Texans, W. Eagles, I don't know.
Out.
Eagles, L. Saints, that could be an L. And then you got the again, which should be another W. Jags, which should be a W because that franchise, can we admit, is a freaking disaster. And the Bucks, definitely L, and Bills, I don't know. But yeah, I could see them maybe getting 2 more wins.
Okay. And that would be a fair, estimate of where I have in that. Now, flipping the ball over to the AFC, you got the Indianapolis Colts, who went out on a limb this year and took on Carson Wentz. Now, this was a big trade for them. They, Andrew Luck was done, Phillip Rivers was done. You're bringing in Carson Wentz after a bad year, and he's not there 15 minutes, and he ends up needing major foot surgery, and he misses the first 6 weeks of the preseason, up into the but he comes back. He does what a lot of quarterbacks don't do. They show up, they came back, and he's gone from a bad start to bringing them to 3-5. Now, as the Colts go, they're a solid offensive team. You got a good running back in Taylor. Okay, let's put it that way. You still got T.Y. Hilton and you got Taylor, and you got a lot of these young receivers to let Wentz really work with and try to bring up a little bit more. But let's be honest. This is still Carson Wentz. And we've seen what he looks like through the first 8 games of the season. What are we expecting from him from the second set of the season?
I expect him, let me tell you, in the beginning of the season, he can be shaky at times. Like what I just brought up earlier last week, how he threw that pick that basically cost the Colts the game against the Titans. But I think he is bouncing back nicely from last year with the Eagles. Because remember, he then got the boot in favor of Mr. Jalen Hurts. And then there was talk about, is Carson Wentz going away? Is it time for Jalen Hurts? Ooh. But I think so far, because this season he has thrown so far 1,926 yards, which is a little but I think as the season goes on, I think he can do better. And he's only thrown 3 interceptions, which isn't terrible.
Which is not like him at all. We know, Bill and I both know, we're big time NFC East fans. Bill being of the little Giants and me being a big D. We have seen Carson Wentz over the last few years, and nothing more infuriated us the years that Carson, really was productive. And the year he took them to, well, let's call it honest. Nick Foles got him to the Super Bowl, but Carson Wentz got him to the playoffs. He was a dynamite quarterback, and he had a big, bright future. But injuries screw up a player no matter how young you are, no matter how old you are. And I don't think he's ever fully recovered from that knee injury. He's showing a little shade of himself in the past now. But the Indianapolis Colts last year were the hot team coming out of the AFC last year. What's wrong with them right now, Bill?
What's wrong with them right now?
Where are they going to stack up in this AFC is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, where are they going to stack up? The problem is, and here's the thing, the AFC South, next to our beloved NFC least, I would say the AFC South is probably the second worst division in football right now. Because you got one team who's running away with everything, and that is the Tennessee Titans. And I don't think against most of the NFC in the AFC, if you're talking stats wise of second place teams, they're the worst in second place teams right now. Because you got the Pats at 4-4, you got the Bengals at 5-3, you got the Chargers at 4-3, and you got the Colts at 3-5. So this team compared to the rest of the AFC, I don't think they stack up really well. Because who do you got? You got Carson Wentz, and who else do you got? I'm kind of drawing a blank right now.
Well, you got Jonathan Taylor, who is a real three-tool player. He can run, he can catch, and he can throw. So he is solid. T.Y. Hilton is coming at the end of his career. This was a big neck injury for him this year. He is, as far as I've seen, there's no notes about him. He is starting for tonight. But they're really building on a lot of rookies. And,
Yes.
and that's not going to help Carson Wentz all that much, but it's going to help him in the area that he needs is morale. Morale wins games.
Oh, it absolutely does.
As we've seen in many of the past. If you want to look at the AFC, your front runners are the Bills, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Titans, and right now the Raiders. And I really hope for the Raiders. I like the Raiders. I really hope they, keep building on this. But with all the nonsense going on out there, it's not going to be easy for them. And that we'll touch on another day. I don't really want to get into that tonight. But the AFC is kind of open right now. I mean, you got a couple of heads, but there are still teams out there that are wavering. And that's why a team like the Colts could sneak into the playoffs this year.
No, I'm not doubting that. I am not doubting that at all.
If Wentz keeps up the performance he has been, he possibly could surpass the Titans at some point, because I don't think the Titans are going to be able to hold on without Derrick Henry. Okay, not even with those fantastic wide receivers. I think the Titans are going to lose some key ball games, and you're going to see Indianapolis, because you're not going to worry about the Jaguars or the Texans, both one-win teams. Indianapolis has a chance to steal this division.
Yeah, they absolutely have. I think Indianapolis, depending on how Tennessee does, though. But like I said, I think what's really going to what's really going to hurt, though, is that is now with Derrick Henry out. That's half of the Tennessee offense right there.
Correct.
So that's going to be a struggle for the. That's going to be a struggle for for the Colts. For the Titans. So that kind of leaves the AFC South kind of wide open at this moment.
And I agree with you completely. You look at these two teams, and they go back since time started in the NFL. They were basically the founding teams. Now, our illustrious co-host and writer, Mike Eric Cartman Rifkin, likes to give us fun lists to use sometimes at night. And sometimes we go with the 2-minute warning, but tonight we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to go with the top 5. And mind you, in this term, it's a top 5 in your lifetime. So, Bill, for everybody who doesn't know, how old are you right now?
I am 27.
Bill is 27 and I am 43. So between the two of us, there's a 16-year difference in players that are going to be on this list. So nobody laughed way too hard. So the question posed by our illustrious leader, who are the top 5 Colts in your lifetime? And Bill, I'll let you go first.
Okay, top 5 Colts. Okay, I'm going to go
in your lifetime.
In my lifetime. Okay, I'm going from 5 to 1 here. Adam Vinatieri, Marshall Faulk, Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, and I know I'm a little biased for this one, Eli's big brother, Peyton Manning.
Okay, and like Bill, I also had Peyton, Reggie, Marshall, Marvin, but I was also around to watch Eric Dickerson run with the Indianapolis Colts. No matter where the man played, he was a lightning bolt. He was fun to watch. But if you ask kids today, Indianapolis Colts, most kids will come out and be able to say to you, Peyton Manning. And that's one of the most recognizable names. However, they can also do that in Denver. They don't do it in New York anymore because that one sucked. So that's okay. We can let him go. Now, going to the other side, the New York Jets, again, in our lifetime, mind you, this was a hard list for me to even compile because I haven't thought of a good Jet in 30 years.
Oh, this was a tough list for me as well. Like, I only had, to be honest, there's only one I really threw on the list because I really couldn't think of anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard when you say the New York Jets pick us out the best in your lifetime. So, Bill, I'm going to let you humiliate yourself first.
Okay.
Go ahead first.
Okay, here are my top 5. Number 5, I got Mr. Chad Pennington, who I thought was okay. But again, it's the Jets.
Mind you, for Mike Rifkin, we will give you a pat on the back because he said there is no hating on Chad Pennington tonight. So you made that easy for me. Thank you.
Okay, number 4 is Lavernius Coles. Number 3 is Vinny Testaverde. Number 2 is Darrell Revis. My number 1, I always really liked him. As big as a Giant fan I am, I always liked this guy, even when I was a kid. My number 1 is Curtis Martin.
Number 28, played for the Giants, the Patriots, and the illustrious Jets. Not a way you want to end your career, but I'll give credit there. That's a person I did not think of. So that's a good pick, Bill.
Thank you.
When you look at me, I'm going way back. Now, I was very excited when Bill said Vinny at number 3. I am a very big Vinny Testaverde fan. I was cheering him on when he was drafted in Tampa back in '87. That's how long ago I go back with Vinny.
I really like Vinny Testaverde.
Yeah. Now, Mark Gastineau is a name you don't hear about a lot, but he was part of that Jet sack exchange. He was on that line, and if that line got any movement, he was in your face. So Gastineau comes up there. Richie Anderson, fullback for almost a good decade, always did something per game that you would hear the fans call out for him. For some reason, he did something, whether it was a pass catch or a good pickup on a block. Wasn't a big name, but he made his footprint. Wayne Corbett. This is a guy who saved my fantasy team many a times, and I can't tell you how many times, especially against the Dolphins. Anytime Wayne Corbett was playing against the Dolphins, you knew you were in for a good week. And I cannot believe I can say this is my number 1 Jet of the past 40 years. Mark Butt Fumble Sanchez.
Really?
Yes.
Hold on, time out here. Why would you put Mark Sanchez, of all people, at number 1?
Now, let's mind you, and it's a very good question because unfortunately nobody can remember a time, if you blink, that Mark Sanchez was ever good. But this guy did lead the New York Jets to numerous playoff appearances, including 2 AFC championship games. Like the Jets are, and I'm sorry, Dan, and I'm sorry, Eric, and I'm sorry to any Jets fan, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. The Jets don't give up about building around your quarterbacks. And we've seen that from time and time again. And it's not only with the Jets. This is with other teams as well who do not give their team their star quarterback support. There is no line for Zach Wilson to play behind. He's had no time really to throw. And on the throws that he's had to make on the run, they've been impressive. But imagine you give the guy an extra 2 seconds in the pocket. Because Zach Wilson's a type of guy who can do things like we haven't seen in a while. Run, throw, slide, dive. He's the next Tony Romo. And I'm sorry, Tony, I hate putting a Jets fan up there with you, but I'm looking at, when you look at Mark Sanchez, the beginning of his career was actually really good. I actually went to the Meadowlands twice to watch him play.
Really? So you went?
Not by choice, but I went.
Who'd you go?
My family has tickets, so
you're like, fine, I'm going by my own free will.
No, well, it was also like probably about 10 degrees, and they didn't want to be out there alone, so I went. You know, that's crazy New York football fans.
No, because I've been to a Jet game in December, Mark. It's cold, boring, and depressing.
Bill, I was at the Giant Dallas game January 2nd, whether it was 1994 or 1993. It was minus 15 degrees with the wind, rain, and snow. Beat that, you got to win. And I still came home without the flu. But looking at everything as we've, checked in and talked about tonight, I'm hoping to see a nice game out of these two teams.
I hope so too.
I truly feel the Jets have a chance to build with Mike White, but it does put a point down to something that I don't have the exact person who said it, but I do have the direct quote. We had a whole week to prepare for nobody. The Jets never declared a quarterback until moments before the game. So, in all fairness, They didn't know who they were going to be facing. But also, Minnesota came out and said the same thing. We were preparing for Dak, not Cooper Rush. Oh, please. Cooper Rush lit up the purple people eaters like nothing else.
You know what? I want to ask you a question. Do you think if Mike White has another great game tonight, do you think Robert Saleh and them are going to be thinking, Zach who? Are going to be thinking, you know what? Maybe let's have Mike as our QB and Zach your backup.
Right now, Zach Wilson is now, and I believe this would be week 3 of his injury.
So he'll probably be back next week.
He'll be ready. He'll be available to come back next week. If Mike White, and this is a very, very good question, if Mike White puts out a performance against the Colts like he did last week, I wouldn't rush Zach Wilson back. You're not going to win the AFC East. Sorry to say. And by
you hear that?
a miracle,
that's all Jet fans crying.
By a miracle chance you do, you're not going to go anywhere. But if Mike White is putting together for you a string of wins, you don't
even bother having
Zach
Wilson.
I mean, you let Zach Wilson, rest, recuperate. There is no rush to get him back online and get him going. If Mike White comes out tonight and has a horrible night, then we'll see Zach back next week or the week after, depending on his injury status.
But I just want to say, Jet fans, don't keep as much as I'm sure Mike White excited you last week, but don't raise the bar too high at this point. Like, you never know. Tonight he can come out and have a crappy game.
And that happens in the NFL. What any team can beat any given team on any given Sunday. It doesn't matter whether it's sunny weather or snowy weather. It just matters whose ball crosses the end zone first. That's how the game is played.
Oh, absolutely. So like I said, Jet fans, don't start dancing about Mike White yet.
This is going to be an abnormally shorter show than we normally do. That it's just Bill and me. We're able to cover a lot of stuff. So I really had fun.
We surprisingly didn't. Hey, it's great to be here, and we surprisingly didn't kill each other tonight.
No, we didn't have to. If this was a Giant Dallas game, forget it.
We would probably have
red asphalt, blood on the pavement.
You would probably have to have Patchy. I would probably have to have Danny Boy Reginald or Eric right there to keep us away from any sharper blood objects from hurting each other.
Probably. And Dallas will face the Giants later on in the season.
And that's when you'll get to see the bloodbath, folks.
And that's it for tonight's show. So please do us a favor.
We have to make predictions.
Yes, sorry. I know. No, I know. That's it for tonight's show. So please follow us on thesportsinsanitynetwork.com. Follow all the different podcasts we have, from the Sports Insanity Podcast, Face Turn, Shotgun, Wishbone, and our new show, The Breakaway, dealing with basketball. The
Face Off.
And to end tonight with our final adage is opinions for the game. Bill, what do you have?
I'm going to say, and you're probably going to get shocked from saying this, I'm going to say Jets 20, Colts 17.
Colts 28-17, and that is how the old man sees it and does it. Good night.
Right? The young guy or the old man? Who's right?
You got it. Good night. See you all next week.